Hi there, everybody, you absolute legends, the low fans, the leading our own way fans. It's part 4 here with this week's guest, Avrill. Today we're going to get real. She gets real about information overload and how it messes with our heads. She breaks down her work in hypnotherapy and NLP, showing us how these tools aren't just fancy techniques or making them dance. It's deeper than that. Always in touch with doctors, she says as well, and it's very, very important that we touch in the medical side of things. They're key. They're not just techniques though. They're not those fancy techniques, as I mentioned. They're keys to unlocking our potential. This conversation might just change how you see your own struggles, and hopefully that's the whole point of the podcast, is just to change that small simple choice. We have a choice to make and we can do it. It's just about understanding how to get there, and then that's the struggle, but this will help. Here we are with Avrill Juriansz. They've seen you go through things personally, and that's probably why they have that respect, which I think I want to ask 2 questions coming off that. You've mentioned the relation, you've painted a beautiful picture with the relationship with your children. Did you not have that relation? We'll come back to my other question in a second, but did you not have that relationship with your mum and father growing up then?
No. My parents had their own business from when we came to Australia. I think they gave them probably about 10 years and they started their own business, which means we were sleeping in a shop, we were getting dressed in a shop, so we stunk of food when we went in, and obviously traditional food, so you had that pungent smell and you get picked on as well, and you get the same food for your lunch, and it's like, ugh. Everyone else is having cheese and tomato sandwiches, you got a curry puff, and it was like, it's just like, oh.
I'm only laughing because you're laughing, just so you know.
No, it's tasty at home, but when you go outside and you eat that, it's woofy, it's very, and people pick on you, and it's just annoying. And people pick on you, and you don't want to get picked on, so you just try your best not to be too different. And every Friday was great because Mum would accidentally write everything in pencil as lunch orders, and she'd put like $4, so I'd go with the eraser and I'm like, 1 apple pie and a tube.
Love it. That's so sneaky. I love it.
It's just like, because I can't be bothered eating a salad sandwich with cheese.
So,
yeah.
We're not close to your mum then?
No. Sorry.
No.
So going back to my relationship with my parents was very platonically mum, dad, respect, do as you're told, no closure, no togetherness. We'd go do things, but we were not close. So I wouldn't get cuddles from my mum or my dad. It was, if I did ask, he'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, be gone with you, sort of thinking. And they had other expectations on themselves. So I don't blame them for not giving what I wanted, but they were too busy trying to people please and try to get their life up and running as well, and try to get an income to be above and keep growing. So it was like a bittersweet for them, because they came from a third world country and they were trying to make it big here. So they started the restaurant and takeaway when I was probably 10. And didn't get much of them because they were too busy working their butts off. Start at 4 o'clock in the morning, finishing at 11 o'clock at night. By the time they get home, they're like, dead to the world. And we didn't have time to have anything else besides that. Parties was not a thing. Birthday parties were not a thing. We weren't even allowed to go for other kids' birthday parties. So we were very sheltered. So the relationship...
Did you feel it? Did you feel it in that time, or were you aware then, or were you thinking, well, this is just a normal life, I'm accepting it?
Well, I felt very lonely. I felt like I want my mom, I want my dad. But every weekend, because I guess I must have said something, and they would shaft us off to someone else, like a family that would have that sort of love and affection. So we grew outside the family with workers family. So we would go to cousins and relatives for the weekend, and we grew with them and their family and got that sort of sense of family love. And because I feel like they were incapable to even know what that was, because I don't think they experienced that themselves. So,
Yeah.
but they don't talk about their past. They're very quiet about it, and you can't provoke them because they get very emotional about it. So, like, oh, why are you asking me about this stuff? It's back in the past. So there alone, those are triggers. So they didn't want to
They're
press on
suppressing
those.
everything, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they didn't know how to show love or educate you
Mm,
or be there for you when you had questions and when you
yeah.
were going through things at school, or when things were
Absolutely.
even the other opposite, when things were going right for you at school, like just
Oh.
being proud of you,
Oh
maybe, you
yeah.
know?
I told you about me getting the HD. Dad turned around and said, "Oh, maybe it's just a fluke." And then I got high scores with everything else. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. My trophies that I came second place twice because I didn't come first, I got pulled out of that. So because I didn't come first, and when I question them now, it's like, oh no, it's because we didn't want you to get hurt. Or you pulled. It's like a different story, different narrative. When you get older, change things up. So I don't blame them because they only knew what they knew and did what they needed to do at that point in time. Not everyone's perfect. Not everyone makes the same decisions. They did the best they could, and I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
You can see how awareness is definitely playing a part in your
mm,
journey. And I think it's probably going to become a lot clearer. Going back to my second part of that question where I diverted off to your relationship with your parents, you mentioned earlier in the episode that you'd separated from the father of your children.
mm,
That was a difficult time in your life. Going again, your children would probably. It's very rare that you hear, oh, here, have 100, just go and enjoy yourself. When you receive that $100
mm.
in your bank, for that to happen, I think they've seen you stick. They probably know your story. I don't know. Only you will know that
No,
if they know your story
they do
about
know
you
the story. Yeah.
and about your parents as well.
Mm,
And then they saw what you went through with their father. Um, they're they're just they know the hardiness that you've been through, the difficulty, the stress, the turmoil. Fill those gaps in with what happened with the father of
oh.
your children.
Well, there was one point I was doing 3 factory jobs to keep us up and running. I chose for them to go to a public school because they didn't choose to come out in the world. We did. We chose them to come out in the world. So the rightful thing that I could do was to give them a better education and a leg up in life. If I put them to state school, I fear that they were not going to get the discipline and the
Yeah.
right footing to live a high education. So I thought, if I'm going to do this, I've got to do it properly and give them a private school like I was given. And their dad said okay. And then once 1 month I was really sick, didn't get to go to work, so I was short about $1,000 for the school fees. We sent him texts and said, look, we just need some money just to. He doesn't pay alimony, he doesn't pay anything for the children, no child support. So eventually I said, look, I need a hand just to pay $1,000 for the school. When can I pick it up? Yeah, come around, this and that. Went down and went to pick it up, and I said, oh, told my eldest son, can you please go and get it from dad? Yeah, sure. Kid comes out and he's like, here you go, mum, let's go. I'm like, okay, yeah, show me the money. And it's like, it's only half. How am I going to explain this to the school? They're waiting for me to come down and give them the money. And he goes, it's okay, mum, we'll find another way to do. Let's just go. And I didn't hear the child. I wasn't aware what the kid was saying without saying. And I was like, oh, come on. He must know something. Maybe if I find out if he can pay it maybe a week or two afterwards. So I said, you guys stay in the car. I'm going to go, but lock the doors. I've got the key with me. And I'm like, okay. And so I went and I spoke to their dad, and dad's like, oh, you don't understand the stress I am, living in this one room. I've got to deal with bills and with a girlfriend and this. I was like, oh my God, that must be hard for you. And he said, yes, it is, and everything. And I said, yeah, all right. I said, now imagine me with the 2 kids with no income because we have to sustain our house, we have to sustain food for us, the bills, and the school fees, and their clothes, and the medication, and you're not helping. He picked up a can and threw it at me, and I was like, You missed. And I dodged it. And I was like, oh, I felt like Matrix. It's like
This is
Spider-Man.
the part I was telling about at the beginning. You're making a dark moment like funny, and it's not funny. So I apologize to the
No,
viewers.
it's I know it's a bit weird, but I guess it's
It's your way of
bittersweet.
dealing with it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
coping
absolutely.
mechanism. And I'm like, and then he just mouthed off, and I just put my hands in my pocket like I normally do, and I'm like, yeah, but then can you tell me when I'll be able to come and collect the rest of it so I can tell the school, or this, that, and everything. And he got to a point where he couldn't talk anymore. He picked up a bike, a push bike, and just whacked the shit out of me with it. And what was worse was my kids were watching from the car. And so I was so scared for the boys. I was like, I was in shock. I was like, oh my God, you hit me. And then because I said that, he stopped. He got startled. I said, oh my God, you hit me. Because I said that loud, it scared the shit out of him. I was like, what? Were you not knowing that you were hitting me with a bike? And I was like, I got in the car, started the car up, and the greedy bastard literally comes out from the back of the seat, opens the back door, and tries to snatch the money out of the kid's hand. So I told my son to close the door. Mommy loves you. Just close the door. He was in shock. He was like, and I was like, sweetie, mommy loves you. I love you so much. Can you do me a favor? Please close the door. I know it's awful. Just close the door and lock it. I had to say it 4 times. And I had 000 on the phone, and they heard everything. It was like a whole 911 sort of situation. And my youngest was in the front seat. He was crying his eyeballs out. He couldn't speak. And then this guy, to make it even worse, was riding the bike around the car. Like, it was like, like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, I locked the car doors and everything. And the cops were like, can you just drive to the station? I'm like, yeah, drove to the station. And the cop's like, I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask the children first. And then I had to sit there and listen to their take of the whole thing. My youngest is like, I thought my dad was going to kill my mum. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just need to step outside for a minute. And the cop literally knew what I was going to do. And he gave me a box of tissues. And I went and I exhaled and I started crying. And I'm like, oh my God, I put my kids through this. It's my fault. I was like, just over money. Was it even worth it? Was it even worth it? Like, literally.
Was in the moment though, wasn't it? Before that happened, you obviously felt it was because you was thinking about your children's education.
Yeah.
You never saw that coming. But then hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? When they're seeing violence on their mother, all of a sudden that value of money is irrelevant. You'll find an option. Yeah.
And I was so upset, distraught, and I was scared that he'll find the place that we've moved into. Spoke to my sister. She then said, come over to the US because she lives in the States. So we went there for a 2-week holiday. And somehow we scrambled the money and bought the tickets and just jetted out within a week or 2, and we were out. And I just, I was so in pain. My chest was ruined. It was scars, and it was still healing, so I couldn't wear things. It was rubbing against. It was like a big scratch. It was like, ow. Had bruises. I went and did the doctor's stuff and the hospital. I went straight to the hospital and did all the stuff, and everyone was feeling sorry for me. I was still in shock. I just couldn't handle it. I was grateful that mom and dad were there to at least to help me pack everything up, and they sent me over. And just had to get the kids. I was mainly worried about the kids. I just wanted them to like forget it. So I guess going to the States was a good thing to see their cousins and hang out with my sister and that. So it was good.
For sure, yeah. So that was after the marriage had ended, though. So was there any signs of this type of behaviour, and what was your relationship like when you were married?
Well, the age-old thing was once you get married to someone, you're meant to stick with them through thick and thin. I was down for that, but not when they're gonna physically abuse you. So before the kids, I was working. I'd come home and had fallen asleep watching Ricky Lake. Now that's telling you my age. Um, I was watching
I
Ricky
used to watch
Lake.
Ricky Lake.
Go Ricky, go Ricky.
Go
Um,
Ricky. Jerry.
so I was watching Ricky and I fell asleep, and I had cooked everything else but this bloody lentils. So he came home. It was like midnight. I was like, oh shit, I didn't cook the lentils. He walked in and he's like, what? That's not done. And I was like, geez, it won't take that long. It's only a little bit and it'll be done. And I slammed the pot onto the stove. So it went tack. He came around and clobbered me one, and I woke up the next day in my urine. So I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. I was like, oh.
Where did he hit? On the head? He hit
On the
hit you on the head.
temples. So he clocked me a good night, Irene. Sorry.
And
on
you were
the
out
jaw.
all night?
Yeah. And I woke up. I was like, I was wondering what was that funny smell. And I was like, ew, my skin's itchy. And I had urinated for the clock. So,
So he left you there and just went to bed?
yeah.
Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.